History usually moves slowly, but 2025 was different. While the world watched the visible front lines, the tanks, the airstrikes, the geopolitical gridlock, a second front line opened up in the dark. It was an invisible war. There were no explosions, no air raid sirens, but make no mistake, 2025 was a year of conquest. It was the year we realized that the digital fortress we spent the last 20 years building was actually made of glass. For the average person, life didn't look different. The trains still ran, the coffee shops were still open, but in the invisible wires that connected us, a catastrophe was unfolding. From the massive database of Silicon Valley to the private files of your local hospitals, the walls came down. We lost the key to our digital identities. We lost the privacy of our medical histories. We even lost the secrecy of our physical location. This isn't just a list of hacks. This is the story of how in the span of 12 months, we went from being users to being targets. To understand the scale of the collapse, we have to start with the RockU 2025 leak. In the past, a data breach meant a few thousand passwords were stolen. It was a nuisance. But in June 2025, the definition of a leak changed forever. Researchers discovered a single file circulating on dark web marketplaces. It didn't contain a few million of records, it contained 16 billion. Let that number sink in. That is 2 stolen credentials for every single human being on the planet. It was a master key to the modern internet. It aggregated data from the giants we thought were untouchable: Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, and TikTok. The breach revealed a terrifying reality. We have been reusing the same key for different doors. Hackers didn't need to break into your bank account. They just needed to find your password for a forgotten fitness app in 2018, cross-reference it with the RockU database, and suddenly they had access to your Microsoft Cloud or your Amazon purchase history. The big tech ecosystem, the infrastructure we trust with our memories, our money, and with our work, had failed. But it turned out losing your password was just the beginning. If a hacker steals your credit card, the bank can print you a new one. If the damage is financial, it is fixable. But what happens when they steal something you cannot replace? What happens when they steal you? 2025 saw a shift in tactics. Cyber criminals realized that the most valuable data wasn't money, it was vulnerability. Take the case of Simon Med Imaging. In a targeted attack, over 1.2 million patients' records were cracked open. This wasn't just administrative data. This was protected health information, diagnosis, insurance details, and social security numbers. At Yale New Haven Health, the story was the same. For millions of people, their most private struggles, their cancers, their surgeries, their mental health battles were suddenly stripped of their secrecy. And then they came for the children. PowerSchool is the software backbone for millions of students. It tracks grades, attendance, and disciplinary records. In 2025, it faced a massive exposure event impacting over 60 million students. We have effectively created a permanent record for children before they're even old enough to understand what privacy means. We are raising the first generation in history that has never known a moment of true anonymity.
There's a notion that's been put forth that somehow a consumer is helpless in this conversation. Our view is that consumers are far more in control, because consumers have very specific interests and needs and preferences, and they vote with their feet. And that behavior in turn is what drives advertisers to become more and more granular, more and more specific, so that they can get to the consumers that care.
Fair to say the internet depends on...
While we were worried about hackers breaking in, we forgot about the companies selling us out. They're called data brokers. Companies like Gravy Analytics and Unicast. You likely never signed a contract with them, you don't pay them, but they know where you sleep. They harvest location data from apps on your phone, your weather app, your flashlight app, or even your games. In 2025, these brokers suffered breaches that spilled the location histories of millions of people onto the open web. Suddenly, the shadow market was exposed. The data doesn't just show coordinates, it tells a story. It shows who visits a divorce lawyer. It also shows who visits a cancer clinic. And it shows who sleeps at a house that isn't their own. By aggregating this data, privacy becomes a myth. We are living in a digital panopticon, where we are watched not by a guard in a tower, but by the very devices we keep in our pockets. And for those who tried to fight back, journalists, activists, whistleblowers, the threat was even more direct. It wasn't a mass leak, it was a sniper shot. 2025 highlighted the terrifying rise of mercenary software. A targeted attack on WhatsApp revealed how tools like SpyX are being used for covert surveillance. This software turns a smartphone into a bug. It activates the microphone in a quiet room. It turns on the camera, it logs every keystroke. We saw journalists being tracked. We saw activists being silenced. It proved that in the modern age, your phone is a double agent. It works for you, but for the right price, it will work for someone else. So what does this story of 2025 tell us? It tells us that the era of passive trust is over. We spent 2 decades trading our data for convenience. We accepted that free meant you are the product, but the bill for that transaction has finally come due. The breaches of 2025, the 16 billion passwords, the medical records, the location data, they're all a wake-up call. We built a house of glass, filled it with our most precious secrets, and we were surprised when the walls shattered. But there is a silver lining. Now that we know that the walls are gone, we can start to rebuild. Not with glass, but with something stronger. 2025 was the year privacy died. But perhaps 2026 will be the year we finally decide to fight for it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, hit the like button. Trust me, I won't sell your data. But in return, you have to subscribe for awesome and informative videos like this in the future. Take care.